A small question sparks a chain of events that changes two lives forever, revealing courage, kindness, and the unexpected power of human connection. Nathan wheeled himself down the cracked sidewalk, the uneven pavement making his small hands ache as he gripped the wheels. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the quiet street, warming his face in a way that felt comforting and cruel all at once. He had always loved observing the world this way, from a distance, noticing the rhythm of life he could never fully join. Cars passed by, their tires humming over the asphalt, while pedestrians hurried past, eyes glued to phones or hurried conversations. Nathan's world had always been defined by boundaries, stairs he couldn't climb, playgrounds he couldn't run through, games he couldn't fully join. But today, something in him was restless. Today, he wanted more than quiet observation. He paused outside a small roadside café, a place he had noticed from afar but never dared to enter. The smell of fresh bread and coffee drifted into the street, teasing and warm. Inside, a few tables were occupied, the clink of cups and soft hum of conversation filling the room. Nathan hesitated at the doorway, scanning the room for a place to fit in without drawing attention. Most eyes ignored him, or worse, glanced briefly and returned to their lives, their assumptions invisible but tangible. Then he noticed a table near the window, empty except for a lone figure, a man, tall and broad-shouldered, a biker by appearance, tattoos peeking from beneath his rolled-up sleeves, a helmet resting at his side. He seemed focused, yet there was a softness to him in the way he tilted his head and studied the street outside. Nathan's heart pounded. He had never been good at approaching strangers, let alone someone who seemed so self-assured, so untouchable. His fingers trembled slightly on the wheels as he spoke, almost to himself, almost hoping the words would vanish. "Can I share this table?" The question sounded smaller than he intended, timid, yet filled with courage he had been storing for moments just like this. The biker's head turned slowly, and for a moment, Nathan feared rejection. But then the man smiled, a quick, genuine curve of lips that made Nathan's chest lift with relief. "Sure," he said simply, voice deep but warm. Nathan maneuvered his chair, feeling the scrape of the wheels against the wood floor, a sound that somehow felt monumental. Sitting down, he tried not to fidget, trying to appear casual when his entire body felt alive with nerves. "Thanks," Nathan said, breaking the silence. His words sounded louder in the quiet cafe than he had imagined. "No problem," the biker replied. "I'm Marcus." He extended a hand, large and rough, but his eyes softened when they met Nathan's. "Nathan," he said, shaking the hand lightly, careful not to jolt Marcus with the limitations of his grip. A silence fell between them, but it was not uncomfortable. Nathan studied Marcus, the way his eyes held a hint of fatigue, the small scar along his jawline, the calluses on his fingers. Marcus noticed Nathan's hesitation, the way his gaze lingered on small details, and for reasons neither fully understood, he felt protective. "Do you come here often?" Marcus asked, breaking the quiet. Nathan chuckled softly. "Not really. I mostly watch from the outside." His voice carried a wistful tone, a mix of longing and self-consciousness. I like to see people live, I guess." Marcus nodded, as if he understood perfectly. "Sometimes watching is enough," he said. "Other times you have to join in, even if it's scary." His words lingered, and Nathan felt the weight of their meaning. The conversation grew slowly at first, each sentence deliberate, testing the waters. Nathan found himself sharing things he had never said aloud, the way he hated being underestimated, the tiny victories he celebrated each day, the dream of seeing more of the world beyond the sidewalks and quiet streets. Marcus listened without judgment, occasionally nodding, occasionally asking questions that were sharp but kind, drawing Nathan further out of his shell. "You ever ride a motorcycle?" Marcus asked, nodding toward the helmet at his side. Nathan's eyes widened. I've never been on one," he admitted, a mix of curiosity and fear in his voice. "Is it scary?" Marcus laughed, a rich sound that filled the small space around them. "Depends on who you're with." he said. Some people ride alone to feel free. Some people ride to share it. His gaze softened, and Nathan felt a flicker of something unfamiliar. Trust, maybe, or the hope of friendship. Minutes passed like hours. Outside, the world moved at its usual frantic pace. But inside that small cafe, time slowed. They spoke about small things at first, the weather, favorite foods, music, but the conversation soon deepened, uncovering layers of longing, regret, and the quiet loneliness that often went unnoticed by others. Nathan spoke of school and therapy, the small victories that no one else celebrated, the teasing he endured, and the friends he never kept. Marcus shared fragments of his own past, trips he had taken to escape pain, mistakes he had made, people he had lost. Each revelation drew them closer, bridging the gap between two very different lives. At one point, Marcus tilted his head, studying Nathan. "You're braver than most people I know," he said softly. Nathan blinked, surprised, the words striking a chord deep in his chest. I don't feel brave," Nathan whispered. "I just try." "That's bravery," Marcus insisted. "Trying. Every day. Even when it hurts." Nathan's lips curved into a small, shy smile. It was the first genuine smile he had allowed himself that afternoon, a smile that lingered long after the words had left Marcus's mouth. He felt lighter somehow, as if the weight of isolation had been momentarily lifted by a simple act of acceptance. A nod, a smile, a shared table. The afternoon waned, sunlight shifting to a warm amber glow, painting the cafe in golden hues. Nathan realized he hadn't noticed time passing. The conversation had been effortless, natural, a rare rhythm he hadn't experienced in years. Marcus glanced at his watch. "I should probably get going," he said, though neither seemed ready to end the moment. Nathan nodded, hesitating. Will you come back?" Marcus smiled, a little mischievously. "I think I will." "Same table?" Nathan's chest swelled. "Yes," he said softly. As Marcus stood, Nathan noticed the subtle weight he carried, not just in his broad shoulders, but in his eyes, the unspoken stories of loss and struggle. For a moment, Nathan wondered if they were more alike than he had imagined, two people shaped by challenges, finding a rare understanding in each other's presence. Marcus tipped his helmet and left, the door closing softly behind him. Nathan remained at the table, the quiet returning, but the warmth lingered. For the first time in a long while, he felt something unfamiliar but welcome, possibility. A connection that could stretch beyond that single shared table, beyond the afternoon sun, beyond the limitations he had always known. Nathan wheeled himself to the window, watching Marcus ride away down the street, the engine's hum fading, but the impression remaining, etched deep in his chest. He whispered to himself, "I think this is the start of something." And in that small cafe, with sunlight pooling across the table, Nathan felt the first spark of a friendship that could change everything. Nathan couldn't stop thinking about Marcus after that first afternoon. The memory of the biker's smile, the rough yet kind hand extended toward him, and the warmth in his voice lingered like sunlight trapped in his chest. He found himself returning to the cafe, hoping to see Marcus again, his anticipation a mix of excitement and nervousness. Each day he navigated the familiar streets, the uneven sidewalks now seeming less like barriers and more like paths toward something unexpected. He carried a quiet hope, one that seemed fragile yet persistent, growing stronger each time he imagined sitting at that same table. When Marcus returned, Nathan's heart raced. The man's presence was commanding, yet somehow comforting, like a protective shadow without intimidation. "Back again," Marcus said, leaning slightly on the table, helmet under one arm. "I was hoping I'd see you." Nathan's chest tightened with a mixture of relief and joy. I wanted to see you too," he admitted, a faint blush creeping across his cheeks. From that moment, a ritual began. They met regularly, at first for short conversations over coffee, but soon their interactions grew longer and more personal. Nathan shared his dreams of traveling, of seeing the world beyond the boundaries he had always known. He spoke slowly, carefully choosing words, the weight of each sentence evident in his thoughtful pauses. Marcus listened, sometimes offering small insights, other times remaining quiet, giving Nathan space to speak freely. The balance between speaking and listening became a rhythm they both cherished, a safe haven in a world that often felt unforgiving. Marcus revealed parts of himself he rarely shared with anyone. Tales of long roads, distant towns, and fleeting connections filled the spaces between conversations. He spoke of mistakes, regrets, and moments of loss, painting a portrait of a life both thrilling and lonely. Nathan admired Marcus's bravery, not just the physical courage of riding across unknown territories, but the emotional courage of laying bare his vulnerabilities. "I've done a lot of running," Marcus confessed one day, his voice low. "But the hardest thing was stopping and facing who I really am." Nathan nodded, understanding more than he realized, recognizing his own battles reflected in Marcus's words, though in different forms. Despite their growing closeness, tension occasionally surfaced. Marcus's bluntness clashed with Nathan's sensitivity, triggering small arguments that left both feeling raw. Yet these moments never broke their bond. Instead, they deepened it, forcing honesty and vulnerability to the surface. Nathan learned to speak up, to challenge, and to assert his thoughts, while Marcus discovered patience, restraint, and the quiet power of empathy. Each disagreement ended with reflection, apologies, or shared laughter, reinforcing the fragile yet resilient thread of trust connecting them. A pivotal day arrived when Marcus suggested a small adventure. "Ever been beyond the town limits?" he asked, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Nathan shook his head, apprehension tinged with curiosity. "I thought maybe we could take a short ride," Marcus continued. "Just a little taste of freedom." Nathan hesitated. His mind raced, imagining obstacles, accidents, and failures, but a flicker of courage pushed him forward. "Okay," he whispered, heart pounding. The ride was nothing like Nathan expected. The wind rushed past, tangling his hair, tugging at his clothes, and making his pulse race. The world seemed larger, brighter, and more alive than ever before. Marcus guided him with gentle confidence, explaining each movement, each safety measure, and each turn. Nathan felt a thrill he had never known, the taste of risk tempered by trust, the joy of motion experienced fully, not from the sidelines. Laughter escaped him in bursts, mingling with Marcus's deep chuckles, filling the open air with sound that felt unburdened by worry or expectation. At a stop on a quiet hill overlooking the outskirts of town, they paused. Nathan's hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from exhilaration. He looked at Marcus, seeing not just the biker, but a companion who had opened a door he had long thought sealed. "Thank you," he said softly, voice almost lost in the wind. Marcus shrugged, smiling. "No, you did it yourself. I just showed you the path." Their friendship grew beyond the confines of the cafe and short rides. They began exploring small hobbies together, sketching the town from quiet corners, reading aloud to one another, even attempting simple cooking experiments in Marcus's modest kitchen. Each activity, mundane on the surface, became a canvas for connection. Nathan discovered courage he didn't know he possessed, while Marcus found grounding in routines and shared experiences he had long avoided. The rhythm of their days, their laughter, shared silences, and occasional tears formed a pattern both comforting and transformative. One rainy afternoon, as they sat under a small awning near the cafe, Nathan confessed, "I've never had a friend like this before." Marcus's eyes softened, a rare vulnerability breaking through his usual composure. "Neither have I," he admitted. "But I think maybe we were supposed to meet at the right time, in the right way." Nathan nodded, understanding the weight of the moment. It was more than chance, it was the collision of two worlds, two lives, each missing something the other could give. They celebrated small victories together. Nathan managed a challenging maneuver in his wheelchair without assistance, and Marcus was there, cheering louder than anyone else might. Marcus shared news of a past fear confronted. He finally visited someone he had wronged, seeking closure. Their triumphs, big and small, intertwined, forming an emotional tapestry rich with empathy, courage, and growth. Nathan began to realize that independence didn't mean isolation, and Marcus discovered that connection didn't require perfection. By the end of this chapter, Nathan and Marcus's friendship had solidified into something unshakable. It was not merely companionship. It was transformation through trust, shared experience, and mutual understanding. Their bond demonstrated that the unexpected intersections of life could create profound change, even in the most unlikely of circumstances. Nathan now approached each day with quiet anticipation, knowing Marcus might appear with a smile, a challenge, or simply a shared moment. Marcus, in turn, embraced the steady presence Nathan provided, finding solace in consistency and emotional honesty he had long denied himself. In the warmth of these moments, the town's ordinary streets felt less like boundaries and more like pathways. Nathan's world, once confined, began to expand in subtle, beautiful ways. Laughter, conversation, and unspoken understanding wove into each encounter, reinforcing a friendship that would withstand the uncertainties ahead. Marcus and Nathan had discovered that courage, trust, and human connection could break walls erected by fear, limitation, or past mistakes. And in doing so, they had begun a journey neither would forget, a journey that promised adventure, growth, and the subtle magic of discovering a kindred spirit in the most unexpected place. The first cracks in their newfound friendship appeared quietly, almost imperceptibly, like shadows stretching across a sunlit room. Nathan began to notice the whispers and glances from classmates, some filled with curiosity, others with ridicule. Even the smallest misstep felt magnified under the weight of judgment, and Nathan's confidence wavered. "Why does it always feel like everyone's watching?" he muttered one afternoon, rolling slowly along the cracked sidewalk, Marcus walking beside him. Marcus didn't answer immediately. He knew words couldn't erase the sting, only presence could. He reached over, steadying Nathan's chair when it wobbled slightly, and said, "Because they are watching. But that doesn't mean they define you." Nathan wanted to believe him, but the heaviness in his chest lingered, a quiet reminder that life was rarely as simple as courage or friendship. Marcus faced his own shadows, though of a different kind. Memories of past mistakes clawed at him, lost friendships, burned bridges, and the people he had abandoned in moments of anger or fear. His past was a landscape of regrets, and for years, he had kept them buried under bravado and restless movement. Now, confronted with Nathan's trust and vulnerability, those memories resurfaced with piercing clarity. He wanted to be present, to be better, but the fear of repeating mistakes loomed large. "I'm not perfect," Marcus admitted one evening, the words rough but honest. "I've hurt people I care about. I don't want to hurt you too." Nathan studied him, sensing the truth and the fear underlying the confession. "I know," he said softly, "but maybe we are allowed to make mistakes as long as we try to do better." Their first real test came unexpectedly. A stranger in the park had slipped and fallen near a pond, crying out for help. Nathan hesitated, instinctive fear paralyzing him for a heartbeat. Marcus moved immediately, his confidence carrying Nathan forward as they approached the scene together. Nathan's hands shook as he extended them to assist, his heart pounding not just from exertion, but from the surge of responsibility and trust. Marcus's calm instructions guided him, a steady presence anchoring his nervous energy. The stranger was safe, helped to their feet, and Marcus's approving glance made Nathan feel seen, capable, and unexpectedly proud. Yet even moments of triumph brought tension. Nathan questioned Marcus's choices more openly than before. "Why didn't you tell me about your past sooner?" he asked one night, frustration lacing his words. Marcus's jaw tightened, his eyes reflecting a flicker of anger and shame. "I didn't know if I could," he said, voice low. "Some things are hard to admit, even to myself." Silence fell between them, heavy and uncomfortable. Nathan wanted honesty, but feared the rawness of it, while Marcus wrestled with vulnerability he had long avoided. Slowly, through careful conversation, patience, and shared reflection, they navigated the friction. Each argument, each uncomfortable truth, forged trust stronger than before, showing that confrontation didn't weaken bonds, it could deepen them. One rainy evening, Marcus led Nathan to a quiet overlook outside town, a place where the wind cut sharp, but the view was expansive. The sky was streaked with bruised clouds, the horizon blurred by rain. Marcus shared a story he had never told anyone, a long-lost sibling he had abandoned in anger, the years of silence that followed, and the regret that never dulled. Nathan listened, absorbing every word, the sound of rain punctuating the gravity of the confession. "I ran from it," Marcus admitted. "I ran from myself. And I think I was scared of being too close to anyone again." Nathan's fingers brushed against Marcus's hand, a subtle gesture of understanding and solidarity. "You're here now," he said softly, "and that counts." The encounter tested both physically and emotionally. Nathan challenged himself to navigate the muddy slope leading down from the overlook, muscles straining, hands gripping wheels with determination. Marcus guided him, offering encouragement without judgment, each step forward a metaphor for their journey together. The risk and effort created a shared intimacy, a sense of accomplishment that was as emotional as it was physical. Nathan realized that courage wasn't just about fearlessness, it was about persistence, trust, and allowing someone to walk beside you when the path seemed impossible. Conflict also arose from the outside world. Nathan faced teasing from peers who couldn't see past his wheelchair, small comments that cut deeper than he expected. Marcus witnessed it and restrained his instinct to confront, instead teaching Nathan strategies for resilience, when to respond, when to walk away, and how to own his space without shame. Each encounter with judgment reinforced Nathan's growing confidence and the strength derived from having an ally. Marcus, too, learned patience, realizing that protection sometimes meant guidance rather than direct action. As the chapter progressed, both Nathan and Marcus confronted internal and external shadows simultaneously. Their conversations grew raw, sometimes ending in silence, sometimes in laughter that broke the tension. Nathan began to voice fears he had buried for years, the fear of being dependent, of disappointing others, of never truly belonging. Marcus shared his insecurities about repeating past patterns, failing the people he cared for, and whether he could ever truly change. Through dialogue, shared experiences, and small acts of courage, they discovered resilience and empathy in each other. The climax of this chapter came unexpectedly, in a moment of quiet understanding. One evening, after a long walk through the town's empty streets, Nathan stopped at a bench, rain dripping from his hood. "I don't know if I can do this," he admitted, voice trembling. Marcus knelt beside him, careful not to loom over the boy physically, but offering presence and reassurance. "You can," he said. "Not because it will be easy, but because you're stronger than you think, and you're not alone anymore." Nathan let the words sink in, a mixture of relief, hope, and gratitude swelling in his chest. By the chapter's end, the shadows were not gone. They never would be entirely, but both Nathan and Marcus had learned to confront them together. Trust had been tested, fears had been voiced, and vulnerability had been shared. The bond between them had transformed from companionship to something deeper, an unspoken pact of understanding, resilience, and mutual growth. Nathan recognized that fear could coexist with courage, and Marcus realized that redemption was possible through presence, honesty, and care. The chapter closed on a quiet street at twilight. Rain had stopped, leaving puddles that mirrored the dim glow of streetlights. Nathan and Marcus paused, side by side, breathing in the damp air, feeling the weight of what they had endured and the subtle promise of what lay ahead. It was a moment of calm after storm, a pause before the next challenge. They did not speak, but the silence was full of meaning, recognition of struggle, celebration of progress, and the enduring power of human connection. The shadows they had faced were now shared burdens, lighter when carried together, a testament to the courage it takes to confront both the world and oneself. The morning sunlight spilled across Nathan's room, soft and golden, illuminating small victories he had achieved in silence. He wheeled himself toward the window, pausing to watch the street outside. It looked ordinary, unchanged, yet everything felt different. The quiet determination he had cultivated over weeks, strengthened through Marcus's guidance and their shared experiences, gave him a sense of confidence that had once seemed impossible. Each day now held the potential for growth, and the smallest steps felt monumental. Today, he thought, could be the day he truly proved to himself how far he had come. Marcus arrived as promised, helmet in hand, a grin tugging at his lips. "Ready for a little challenge?" he asked, voice warm and teasing. Nathan's pulse quickened, not with fear, but anticipation. Together, they set out on a path beyond the familiar streets toward a hill that had once seemed intimidating, almost unreachable. The journey was physically demanding. Nathan's arms ached, his hands scraped slightly against the wheels, and the uneven terrain tested every ounce of control he possessed. Yet with Marcus beside him, offering guidance, encouragement, and the occasional hand to steady him, the obstacles felt conquerable. Along the way, conversation flowed effortlessly. Nathan recounted the past months, the moments of fear, the discoveries of courage, the unexpected joys of companionship. Marcus listened, occasionally offering his own reflections, subtle reminders that growth came from persistence, honesty, and embracing vulnerability. "You've come a long way," Marcus said, voice softening. "I knew you had it in you, but watching it happen, it's something else entirely." Nathan smiled, a quiet pride blooming in his chest. He realized that true triumph was not a single act, but a culmination of effort, resilience, and trust, the very elements that had defined his journey with Marcus. When they reached the top of the hill, the world unfolded before them in a panorama Nathan had only imagined. The town lay spread beneath them, streets and rooftops bathed in golden light, fields stretching beyond, and the horizon framed by distant hills. The wind tugged at his hair and clothing, cool and invigorating, carrying a sense of liberation that words could scarcely capture. Marcus helped him stabilize, ensuring his chair was secure, and together they stood in silence for a long moment, absorbing the magnitude of what Nathan had achieved. It was more than a physical victory. It was symbolic of every barrier he had faced, every doubt he had conquered, every fear he had braved. "Look at that," Marcus whispered, voice full of awe. Nathan's eyes shone as he surveyed the view. "I did it," he said softly, almost to himself. The words carried weight, a quiet acknowledgement of his growth. Marcus nodded, a broad smile spreading across his face. "You did," he confirmed, "and don't let anyone tell you otherwise." The moment was profound, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real, a culmination of courage, trust, and perseverance shared between two unlikely friends. The afternoon brought a new challenge, one that tested both heart and mind. A lost dog appeared on the outskirts of the hill, frightened and skittish, its cries urgent and plaintive. Marcus and Nathan exchanged a glance, instinctively knowing what needed to be done. They approached slowly, speaking in soft tones, hands steady and inviting. Nathan's patience and empathy guided the process, while Marcus's experience with risk and unpredictability provided the necessary edge. Together, they coaxed the dog toward safety, earning its trust through gentle persistence. By the time they returned it to its grateful owner, a profound sense of accomplishment settled over both of them, not just for saving a life, but for realizing the impact they could have when acting with care, courage, and collaboration. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, Nathan and Marcus sat on the hilltop, exhausted but exhilarated. Their conversation turned reflective, softer than before, carrying the weight of shared history, growth, and understanding. Nathan admitted his gratitude, voice trembling with emotion. "I don't think I could have done any of this without you," he said. Marcus shook his head, a smile touching his eyes. "No," he replied. "We did it together. You've grown, yes, but I've grown too. Seeing you face fear, embrace trust, and discover your strength, it's changed me more than you know." The bond between them had transformed into something enduring, deeper than friendship or mentorship. It was a partnership forged through shared vulnerability, struggle, and triumph. Nathan realized that courage wasn't about never fearing. It was about choosing to move forward despite fear. Marcus understood that connection, when nurtured with honesty and care, could heal wounds that time alone could never touch. Their journey had reshaped their worlds, redefining what it meant to trust, to risk, and to embrace life fully, even with its uncertainties. The climax of their transformation arrived in a quiet gesture. Nathan had been saving a small journal for weeks, documenting his thoughts, fears, and small victories. With trembling hands, he handed it to Marcus. "I wanted you to see everything," he said softly. Marcus opened it slowly, turning pages filled with reflections, sketches, and moments of triumph. His eyes glistened as he read, the weight of their journey laid bare in simple words and drawings. This is incredible," he said, voice choked. "You've done so much, Nathan. I'm proud of you, so proud." Nathan felt a warmth bloom inside him, a mix of validation, gratitude, and the quiet power of being understood. As the sky darkened and stars began to emerge, Marcus and Nathan prepared to descend the hill, their hearts full. The journey back was calm, reflective, filled with easy conversation and laughter that felt lighter than ever before. Nathan realized that independence wasn't a solitary struggle. It was strengthened by the presence of someone who believed in you, who guided you without taking over, who walked beside you through every shadow and triumph. Marcus understood that redemption, too, wasn't found in grand gestures, but in consistent presence, empathy, and the courage to connect deeply with another person. When they finally reached the town below, Nathan paused, looking up at the sky, feeling a profound sense of completion. "Thank you," he whispered. Marcus smiled, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "No, Nathan. Thank you. You reminded me what it means to care, to trust, and to keep moving forward." In that moment, the boundaries that had once defined them, fear, doubt, past mistakes, felt diminished, replaced by hope, resilience, and shared purpose. The chapter closed not with fanfare, but with quiet triumph. Nathan's journey had transformed him, not through magic or sudden change, but through persistent effort, trust, and the unwavering support of an unexpected friend. Marcus, in turn, experienced a quiet redemption, discovering that connection, presence, and shared growth could heal wounds that had long festered. Together, they had faced challenges, embraced vulnerability, and celebrated triumphs, proving that courage, kindness, and understanding could reshape even the most constrained lives. As night fell over the town, Nathan and Marcus parted with the promise of continued adventures, shared stories, and unwavering support. Their friendship had become a beacon, a testament to the power of human connection, the courage found in vulnerability, and the transformative magic of believing in oneself and others. The last words Nathan whispered, softly into the cool night air, were simple but resonant. "We did it. Together." The days that followed felt different for Nathan and Marcus, though nothing about the town had changed. Nathan wheeled through familiar streets with newfound confidence, noticing details he had never appreciated: the way sunlight shimmered off windows, the scent of fresh bread from the bakery, the gentle rhythm of life moving around him. Each step, each push of his wheelchair, carried the quiet knowledge that he was capable, resilient, and seen. Marcus rode beside him often, not as a guide but as a companion, sharing laughs, stories, and comfortable silences. Their friendship had matured into something steady and unshakable, a foundation neither had expected but both now cherished. Nathan reflected on the small, seemingly ordinary moments that had changed everything: the shared table, the first ride, the hilltop victory, and the quiet conversations about fear and regret. Each event was a ripple that expanded into growth, courage, and hope. Marcus, too, realized that connection had given him a sense of purpose he hadn't known he was missing: the ability to be present, to nurture, and to witness someone's life transform in real time. They understood that life was not about perfection or flawless bravery. It was about showing up, embracing vulnerability, and daring to trust. Nathan smiled more freely now, laughed more easily, and felt a quiet pride in the person he was becoming. Marcus carried a lighter heart, a sense of redemption not from grand gestures, but from meaningful, persistent presence. Together, they had discovered the extraordinary in the ordinary, the profound impact of kindness, and the enduring power of shared humanity. The story closes not with dramatic fireworks, but with the subtle, lingering truth of transformation. Courage is cultivated through small steps. Trust is built through honest presence and connection. Unexpected, improbable, yet beautiful, can change lives. For anyone who has felt limited, overlooked, or unsure of their place in the world, Nathan and Marcus's journey is a reminder that hope exists, and meaningful relationships can blossom in the most unlikely circumstances. As Nathan wheeled toward the horizon, sunlight painting his path, Marcus beside him, both carried the quiet certainty that life, full of challenge, risk, and uncertainty, was also full of possibility, laughter, and shared triumphs. Sometimes, all it takes is one question, one shared table, and one brave step to begin a journey that transforms everything.